Is the title clickbait? No. I only play Destiny once every few weeks these days at most, but in Destiny's defense, it's the only game I play still. As a 31-year-old brand new dad, I don't have time for literally anything, especially gaming. Babies are surprisingly tricky. I deliberately didn't call the video why I quit Destiny because that wouldn't be true necessarily. My playtime has significantly diminished, but it's definitely not zero and zero forever. Let me explain. In the lead up to Final Shape, I was playing Onslaught like my life depended on it. In hindsight, that was kind of a special time in the game out of nowhere, and it was a bit of a sandbox golden age right before Prismatic landed and consumed every activity. When Final Shape came out, I played a decent amount, did most of the endgame stuff, did the raid and dual Destiny a few times, and had a really good experience with all of it. I didn't love Prismatic personally because it feels like it's mostly ability focused, but I've always cared way more about the gunplay of Destiny. I know Transcendence gives you a tiny bump to weapon damage. I think it's around 5%, but that doesn't move the needle enough for me to want to really engage with the subclass. And believe me, I checked on day one if there was a giga weapon damage Prismatic build, and nothing really stood out. So I was like, okay, well, it's not super for me. As Final Shape's activities started to lose their shiny new toy status, I found myself just kind of fading from the game. I couldn't do another power level grind, and thankfully, they've made power minimally important anyway, so that's nice. I don't have many specific game critiques for why I'm not really engaged these days, but one would definitely be the way PvP has been handled long term. So the game I played the most before Destiny was Team Fortress 2. I have just over 3,000 hours, which is crazy because I haven't really even played that game since I switched to Destiny. The reason I played so much of it in the past was it has the best PvP sandbox I've ever played. In terms of overall balance, gameplay diversity, and skill ceiling, nothing has ever come close to it for me. I'm a PvPer at heart, and I used to be like you, boring, unimpressive, and struggling to parallel park my own car. But now, I can park my billion-dollar yacht in the clouds while knitting a sweater for your grandma, and she loves it. That's all thanks to the Chairman Pro package from Manscaped. Look down. You're holding an invitation to a breakfast at my castle. Look back. I'm sword fighting 3 French guys for control of an ancient vineyard. Why? Because I can. That's the power of grooming with Manscaped. Can you hear it? The sound of my biceps winning an arm wrestle against Destiny. I'm not just a man, I'm all men thanks to the Chairman Pro electric shaver. After I use the Power Shave gel, I take my Tiger for a walk along an active volcano that I dug with my bare hands. Not to mention, since using Manscaped, my Shadow bench presses your personal best for reps. Hey, if you aren't keeping everything trim, then I'm afraid there's no hope, and you have my personal condolences. Except it's not too late to raise your standards and get the Chairman Pro package for yourself or as a gift this holiday season. Use code Jez for 20% off plus free international shipping at manscaped.com. Sponsored by Manscaped and my homemade volcano. I've only just recently overtaken my TF2 hours with my Destiny hours on Steam. That's how much TF2 I played back in the day. I dabble in Destiny's PvE, but almost always with the direct intention of finding something cool for PvP. But over the years, if you cared primarily about the PvP side of Destiny, you were down bad. No meaningful new content ever, especially compared to PvE. All we really had as PvPers was the sandbox, except at least 80% of the time, it felt like there were a small handful of annoying outliers that plagued the sandbox for seasons, if not years at a time. Well, the other problem is one archetype of weapon class would be usable and all the others not for long periods of time. For example, 120 RPM hand cannons are good and all the others aren't. If you don't like 120s, too bad. Use them or you're running uphill for no reason. Or maybe high impact pulse rifles are good, but all the others aren't, so use those or else. Or the outlier problem can apply to subclasses for long periods of time. For example, Arc Titan might be way overperforming, doesn't get properly balanced for years, or insert any other class that was outperforming for a long time. There's many examples like that. And for a game with so much width and depth to its ability and weapon variety, it's stunning how shallow the metas usually are. Not to mention the overall balance of gunplay to ability usage. I really like the space magic abilities of Destiny when they supplement the gunplay. Destiny's gunplay is unmatched in terms of feel and polish and mechanics to this day in the industry. But overall, looking back, it always seemed like the abilities were of equal or greater importance than the guns, which I've never personally enjoyed. I just had such a love-hate relationship with PvP. It felt like the more I cared about it, the more I was punished. It was always one step forward, 2 steps back. And eventually when I said, all right, I'm done with PvP, I can't keep loving the potential of a thing when the actual thing is making me miserable most of the time. I was actually noticeably happier in real life because I cut all those negative feelings out by permanently stepping away from PvP and just kind of releasing it from my heart, you know what I mean? So what's left in the game for me to enjoy? Well, I haven't really been interested in the seasonal content between major expansions. I really liked the Coil and Onslaught and Pantheon, but I haven't touched any of the episodes since Final Shape. I'm definitely still interested in like Grandmaster Nightfalls, raids, and dungeons, but mostly because these involve a decent gameplay challenge while playing with my friends. Speaking of friends, when I scroll through my list on Steam, the vast majority of people who used to play Destiny multiple times per week no longer play at all. Even if the game is in a decent state, it's been like 10 years. It's very hard to keep an individual thing fresh for that long. So I'm definitely not saying, if they could just make the game good, then everyone would come back, including me. Bungie is swimming against the streams of time, and that is very difficult to do. Okay, now let's talk about money. Being alive is so expensive, isn't it? It's very pesky. Obviously, another huge factor I have to consider is that this is technically my career. When people ask me if I just play video games for a living, I'm like, well, I do play games for maybe 10 to 20% of the time, depending on the project, but the rest is scripting, filming, editing, feedback, project management, accounting, making thumbnails, etc. It's no secret that Destiny views are declining across the board for everyone. As a husband and father, I love providing financially for my family. So I do have to consider the economic realities of how I spend my time, but I'm also not overly money driven. I could make a Destiny video on every new weapon and every new activity and every new episode and make a lot more money, but I actively don't do that because I do not find it creatively fulfilling. That's why I'm working so hard on my scripted green screen videos, because I really enjoy taking the time to make something worthwhile that I can be proud of. Don't get me wrong, playing with my friends and trying to make them laugh is definitely fun. I will always find pleasure in that, but I don't get any creative fulfillment out of those videos. And I think that I'm really bad at what's essentially live improv comedy. That's like my weakest area, IMO. I'm a very slow thinker, so I do a lot better when I've got time to actually write a joke or a thought in a script-based format. By the way, if you haven't seen any of my green screen videos, I've made 5 now to varying degrees of success. They're all in a playlist called Green Screen Jazz. It's on the homepage of my channel. I would love to transition my whole channel to that style. My plan is to do roughly one highly edited, meticulously scripted green screen video a month. The next one I'm working on is what Elden Ring is like for my non-gamer wife. Those big boys usually take hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars working with my editor to make. So if you want to help me at all, I've relaunched the Patreon. Any contribution will get you in the credits of that video, which will look like this. I'll link the page in the description. So my plan moving forward is to give these green screen videos a red hot go for at least a few months, as long as I can financially sustain it. If it doesn't work, I will happily keep making Destiny videos, because providing for my family is literally non-negotiable, and I'll just find ways to enjoy myself in Destiny. There's definitely stuff I can do. But until I scratch this creative itch, I'll never know if I could have done something different. And I think the reality is 90% of Destiny YouTubers would stop playing tomorrow if it didn't earn them money. And almost all the rest would drop their playtime by like 90%. That really is just the unspoken truth across the board. And I know because I talk to people in the DMs. Destiny's in a weird place, and there's been casualties because of the dwindling viewership. Ascendant Nomad, gone. TDT, gone. Castle content, gone. We've got Datto, Aztecross, and Bife all exploring variety content. Again, that's not even an indictment against Destiny the game specifically. The winds of time kind of erode everything. And once you make a hobby your livelihood, it's very hard to maintain the same level of passion long term. So as for me, I'm recording a Grandmaster Nightfall video with Datto and Danielle over the next few days, because apparently they remastered the Inverted Spire Nightfall and it looks really fun. But after that, I have no Destiny content planned for as long as I can sustain it. By the way, if you haven't seen it, I just uploaded a 2-hour highly edited green screen rant of Final Shapes campaign. It's on screen now. The Lore Bros are extremely angry in the comments because I did miss some minor plot details, and that's on me. But I stand by 99% of the points I made. I spent like 6 effing months on the video, so please watch it if you think high effort content is worth investing in. Okay, love you.